As horntail dragons surround the adventurers, they discuss how most of them have fallen, leaving no one and nothing to rely on. Elpam is told that the 6 strongest heroes have also died, and he is the last adventurer left. Their last fight doesn't end well, leaving him with the sight of his friends, Phillips, Jaden, and Alesis, dying. As he contemplates whether everything has ended, and whether he should give up and accept his death as a game of fate, his gut feeling doesn't want him to do that. He wishes to turn back time and change how things went right from where all of it began. But it doesn't happen that way, does it? Well, in this genre, yes it does. Elpam is woken by water being splashed on his face, and he finds himself tied in a slave market as a decoy slave to be sold. He is lost since the concept of decoy slaves long ended, but then he realizes he is back to the beginning. His past is where it all began. The person in front of him is the same guy who sold him as a decoy slave 6 years ago, which means he is back in the past to write the story again. When he is sold to some adventurers, they enter a gate but fail to survive there. Elpam, who was tied behind as a decoy for the adventurers to escape, survived and watched the rest of the selfish punks die. Taking the staff of fire arrow, he begins looking for other valuable stuff that these adventurers must have brought. Looking into the shoes of one of the adventurers, he finds a ring of telekinesis. He wears the ring when suddenly monsters appear around him. But that is not an issue anymore since our last adventurer has 2 weapons in his hands at the moment. He uses the fire arrows initially, but realizes that the staff has a cooldown time. Hence, Elpam switches to using telekinesis in the meantime. Even though he is back to the beginning, his skills are still extraordinary. He managed to survive without greater damage, even with his currently limited ability to use telekinesis and a staff that takes time to shoot arrows. One of the girls from the adventurers is still alive, even though she was injured first. She showcases her confusion in broken words, but Elpam doesn't care about any of that. He doesn't consider those adventurers worthy of living if they use other humans to ensure their survival. The entire village is shocked to see a slave return alone from a hunt. Elpam thinks about how the story has begun, but he needs to act quickly and correctly to not meet the same fate again. But his first aim is to get rid of the slave status. Lord Abyss is reported of a slave returning alive, but this news is insignificant to him. He is surprised a little when he gets to know the slave is the only person who returns alive. But his image of slaves being lowly, insignificant people makes him disinterested in the topic. However, he has to take notice when he gets to know that the slave has awakened the first circle and wants to register as an adventurer, and that Lord Larkin wants Abyss to dig deeper into this matter. All the arrogance about the only way slaves get freedom is death, and this is how Gapper Merchant Guild runs business go down the drain at this order, and Abyss is forced to consider the situation. Humans have always been slaves to mesos and money, and those who failed to pay their debts were forced to repay in the form of labor. This is how the concept of slavery emerged in Maple World. Elpham's father was his only family, and when he died from an illness, he had to work as a slave to pay off the debts taken for his treatment. He was exploited for 6 years, and now he finally has reached a point for revenge. Abyss doesn't beat around the bush and agrees to register him as an F-rated adventurer. Things seem easy for Elpam, but he has been aiming a little higher. He tells Abyss that he needs an E rank. Abyss is shocked and tells him this can't happen. Elpam reasons that he has been in and out of the gate a few hundred times in the past 3 years. Abyss intervenes that he didn't kill any monsters, which makes Elpam remind him that the ranks are not about the strengths, but how many times an adventurer has returned alive since the information brought back by the survivor is considered the most valuable. Abyss agrees with his point, but reminds Elpam that decoy slaves are only taken to low-tier gates, and he doesn't think Elpam would survive in high-tier ones with whatever skills he thinks he has. Ibis thinks his overconfidence will get him killed sooner, but something in his gut feeling makes him put forward a challenge. He tells Elpam that there is this gate with a 5-people limit and 12 marks on the pole. It means at least 12 parties of 5 have entered the gate and failed to return. So Elpam is asked to prove to Abyss that he deserves that rating. Elpam is welcomed by a party of 4 in the adventure. The tank, Chev, greets him pretty warmly, showing that the 4 of them don't care if he has been a slave. The objective of their mission isn't to hunt down monsters, but to collect valuable items left behind by the former adventurers. They will be paid 3,000 mesos for every item, which is not a fair deal, but it gets them something. Entering the guild, they set up their base on a tree near the entrance. After doing so, they decide to split into 2 groups and scout the surroundings. Elpam and Chev head to the east. Chev wonders why they don't see any monster or any item, and wonders if they set up their base too close to the entrance. Chev then asks Elpam about his feelings about the first assignment. Elpam mentions being nervous, so Chev consoles him that he seems nervous too every time on an adventure, but care for his companions helps him stay strong. He praises how nice the other 3 are and shows sympathy for Elpam. Telling him they accept him fully, Chev even offers him to join their party permanently. Getting no response, he tells Elpam nervously to not give it too much thought, but Elpam's attention is on the melted land. At night, everyone enjoys their food and drink before falling asleep. The 4 of them then visit Elpam's caterpillar bed, questioning if he is awake. They then start laughing about how he could be awake when they mix a heavy tranquilizer in his drink. Way to ruin their image. They have intended to kill Elpam and sell his staff. A true example of how money controls you. With a swoosh, Chev stabs the blanket only to feel a hard surface beneath. Opening the blanket, they find a log inside, making them realize he wasn't here all along. Suddenly, a fire arrow is struck at their base, making it light up with fire and lure the boss monster, the gold slime. Elpam watches them from afar, calling them fools for showing a little too much kindness to be real. Chev warns his mates that this slime's body is made of acid, and it is mostly only found on red-tier gates. It is the worst type of enemy for combatants like them, pretty much defining that they don't stand a chance against it. What they didn't anticipate was that the gold slime could shoot acid arrows, making it even more dangerous for them. Assuming that the slime has a cooldown time of 1 minute to shoot another arrow, Max rushes forward to aim for the slime's core. However, it takes a max to be divided into 2 for them to get to know that the cooldown time has reduced. It means that the gold slime is much stronger than they expected. Elpam analyzes the slime and realizes that it has become strong enough to hold on its own in a yellow tier gate, 2 levels above the red. Elpam doesn't think a one-circle adventurer can realistically hunt it down, and since all the items left by the former adventurers have been corroded, the mission is automatically over. However, eBay's words asking Elpam to prove himself ring in his ears, making him stop, smirk, and turn back. Elpam begins striking the gold slime where its core is located. He keeps using both his telekinesis and fire arrow in the same spot to weaken it, and finally reaches for the core when he gets a chance to. As it turns out, Elpam is the greatest telekinetic of all. Once the core has been attacked, the slime bursts all over the place. Once the mess settles, Elpam notices something glowy and picks it up. It turns out to be the gold slime's core. Reaching back, Elpam once again sits in front of Abyss. Ibis is impressed that he once again returned unscathed, as the only survivor. But the point in his mind is that he didn't bring the items he was supposed to. Elpam explains how the amateur adventurers with him tried to kill him for his items, and died at the hands of the boss monster while he was running away from them. Running away is a nice joke. Ibis figures all the previous items must have corroded once he gets to know that the boss monster was a gold slime. Ibis thinks about all the restrictions of the gates. Starting from the fact that each gate has a specific number of adventurers that can enter at a particular time, and only once they are killed can any other adventurer enter. Second, the gates have specific difficulty rankings ranging from red to purple. The adventurers with higher circle levels cannot enter a gate of a lower difficulty level. The last issue is that a gate disappears if an adventurer comes out of it alive, whether or not he retrieves anything from it. Ibis is internally dejected that the gate and any potential reward with it have disappeared. Ibis knows that the gold slime is a strong monster to be defeated by one circle adventurers, so he assumes Elpam barely escaped and decides to use the corrosion of items as an excuse to fail Elpam. However, Elpam calls him impatient, ready to show him he didn't return empty-handed. He opens his sleeve to reveal not one, but 2 circles on his wrist, while telling Ibis that he consumed the gold slime. Ibis cannot believe his eyes that Elpam consumed the mana stone dropped by the gold slime. Elpam is talking about how he has proved himself enough and would like to be registered as an E-rated adventurer, but he gets cut off with the words D-rated. Elpam is confused when Ibis appears in his face, showing how impressed and excited he is. He even changes the D to a C-rated, asking Elpam to work exclusively for him. It's as if the entire image of Elpam has been switched in Ibis's sight. While Elpam signs the contract, Ibis thinks about how he is aware that the C rating is higher for someone who hasn't awakened 3 circles yet, since several circles equal power in this world. However, he has already been convinced that Elpam is an exceptional case, since not everyone can advance to the next circle level just by consuming a mana stone. His survival instinct is another smart thing about Elpam. His growth is faster than any adventurer that Ibis has ever met, which is why it is beneficial for Ibis to recruit him. Elpam sighs, knowing things have paced quicker than he expected, and he is well aware that Ibis needs him desperately to be offering that. He thinks about how the first conquest of a 100-person red tier gate is not far away. Elpam knows that such an event used to be an interest of all merchant and adventurer guilds of this time. Elpam knows that the Gapper Guild is paying interest in it too, which isn't at all bad for him, because he is also in a rush to execute his plans as fast as possible. After signing the contract, Elpam addresses Ibis, asking him for a favor. Ibis smiles on the outside when Elpam straight up demands some money from him, but feels annoyed at him on the inside. The appearance of the gate has always been a trap laid by the Black Mage. Many adventurers lost their lives, but what created chaos was the day of the apocalypse. The monsters came out of the gates into the Maple World as if they'd long awaited this day. That is when the adventurers truly lost. This day of apocalypse is set to occur in exactly 3 years, which only Elpam seems to be aware of. So he needs to act fast, so Maple World doesn't face the same fate that he has already seen. Elpam knows that the Gapper Guild only hired him because the 100-person red tier gate only allows adventurers with 2 circles or less. Since he has finally gotten some money, he thinks of where he should spend it smartly. He doesn't have much to buy valuable items, but he knows another most efficient thing he can buy from that money. He enters Reese's job market, which is a slave market. Ironical for someone who killed adventurers who bought slaves, but he has a different picture in mind. Elpam asks for a specific person who is chained in the punishment quarters for being a troublemaker. It was the death of a certain individual that expedited the destruction of the Maple World in Elpam's previous life. Aaron, the polearm hero, was murdered by the only apprentice she ever had, the hero murderer, Daibo. This murder was what marked the beginning of the end. Daibo was one of the most influential individuals alongside Elpam after the day of the apocalypse. He was often compared with Elpam due to the similarity of their personalities, and how they both developed their strengths so fast. However, Another striking similarity between the two was their desperate need for money. Debo's sister has been suffering from the black blood disease, for which he needs money. Elpam asks how much Debo would be sold for. Debo assumes Elpam cannot afford him, so he confidently says 1 million mesos, expecting him to turn back. However, Elpam not only takes out the 1 million, but also takes out a contract that says that Debo will receive only 30% of the profit of every adventure, and any loot will solely belong to Elpam. He hands Debo the contract to read it thoroughly, but Debo signs it right away, showing his true care for his sister. Elpam doesn't beat around the bush and decides to take Debo to the first gate. Debo is ready to prove himself as the best hustler. However, he seems like a usually confused newbie when Elpam hands him the polearm as his weapon, even though Debo is interested in long swords. Debo also cannot believe his ears when Elpam tells him that they are the only 2 adventurers, and it'll be enough for them to conquer an 8-person gate. Elpam kicks a whining Debo inside the gate, making him shout at Elpam for being obnoxious. Unfortunately, the shouting results in attracting the stumps, and an inexperienced Debo freezes there. Elpam pushes him back and takes some confident strikes to attack the stumps and get rid of them almost effortlessly. Debo stands there amazed and wondering who this guy is, while Elpam insults him for panicking seconds after stepping into the gate. A girl reports to a man with long white hair, telling him that the Merchant Guild has taken their bait and is working on the timing of deployment with their guys as members. The guy swirls his drink, ready to work on liberating the maple. E-world. Debo is amazed that they have already earned 27 mana stones, and since he knows that he is gonna get 30% of the profit, things seem positive and bright for him and his sister. However, his beaming smile is short-lived when Elpam takes him to 9 stumps and tells him that he is supposed to kill them all alone. Debo steps forward reluctantly, thinking of his boss as a lunatic who sent him to fight so many monsters with a weapon that he is not accustomed to. However, Elpam knows that the polearm is going to prove to be the best weapon for Debo, since he is the only one who was chosen by Aaron as an apprentice in his previous life. Debo seems to be getting a grip of the polearm, and he can feel how it is less straining to use, and is bringing out good attacks from him. He tries swinging the polearm in different ways, and all seem to work in his favor. This impresses Elpam that Debo got a gist of it faster than he expected, and he still hasn't awakened his first circle. Debo manages to get rid of the 9 stumps, but the boss of the gate, Stumpy, appears there. Elpam steps forward, telling Debo that a bigger size is sometimes a shortcoming since more area is exposed to damage. However, Stumpy initially strikes the fire arrow away and then dodges the telekinesis as well. The two run for a while till Elpam tells Debo to handle the stumps that got here while he deals with Stumpy. Debo assumes that Elpam is being irrational since he cannot handle Stumpy alone. However, he is left shocked and impressed yet again seeing Elpam's attacks finally work. Since Elpam has 2 circles, he can cast 2 spells simultaneously. Stumpy's branches are quick to dodge one attack, but when it is layered with another, it makes it hard for the monster to dodge it. Looking at Elpam makes Debo lose sight of a few stumps that appear near Elpam. Elpam handles them easily, but mocks Debo for not even being able to handle a few small monsters. Elpam's distraction results in him coming too close to an attack, but Debo saves him just in time. Debo calls them, even for this amusing Elpam who can finally see the worth of his money. Elpam and Debo both then brace themselves to finish off this monster. The finishing off, however, isn't that simple. The two of them keep throwing attacks either simultaneously or one after the other, saving each other and helping each other. It takes a while for them to finally weaken Stumpy and get it to a point where it is easier to finish it off. It is their perfect teamwork that helps them defeat a very persistent monster, especially with its multiple branches there to protect it. After a long day of hard work, it is finally time for them to go home. At night, Debo's sister is thanking God for the food on the table when the door is knocked. Wondering who could be here this late, she opens the door and is left shocked. A tired and bruised Debo stands in front of her, smiling and telling her that he is finally back. Both hug each other, celebrating meeting each other after so long. Elpam also finally goes back to his house, where he finds the rotten body of his father, who died of a disease. He uses his staff to burn the house down as some form of closure and walks away. Ebby stares at the information about the potential adventurers to send in the 100-person gate. He knows that other guilds have stronger adventurers with 2 circles than their small-scale guild. An example of the Natasha sisters from the Gold Richie Merchant is enough to make him worry about who to send. He is scared of sending Elpam since he doesn't know if Elpam is trustworthy enough for that kind of responsibility. Someone walking into his office makes Abyss almost shout at the stranger's audacity to walk in without knocking. However, he timely sees it is Lord Larkin and shuts up. Lord Larkin coming personally to ask for a report about what Abyss has decided makes it an even more serious deal in his mind. EB shares all his thoughts and how no one can vouch for Elpam since Chev's entire party died. Larkin laughs evilly, telling Abyss to then create an opportunity to have multiple evidences to vouch for Elpam, as well as see who deserves to go for the conquest. All the 2 circle and below parties are invited in front of a 40-person red tier gate by the Gapper Guild. Debo is excited to see so many people, but the people are not excited to see the 2. They are all judging the 2 for being former slaves and then making a party. Ibais appears there telling everyone to prove themselves, and whoever exceeds all the others will get the chance to go the 100-person gate conquest as a reward. Elpam can see what is happening here. When everyone enters the gate, it is a forest, and they decide to only help each other when it comes to the boss monster. The party with a mage, Dolan, as a leader sees a small mushroom monster and attacks it, ready to leave. However, the monster is unscathed by the magic, and by this time, other mushroom monsters are also lured there. They have to physically kill the monsters, which makes them realize that it is going to be tiring if they keep defeating the little ones. The fear of their energy being drained before reaching the boss monster makes them directly aim towards hunting down the boss monster and betraying other parties of the deal to defeat the boss monster together. Elpam is heard saying the entire thing to Debo, but he also adds that this is what all other parties must be thinking right now. Debo is currently breathing heavily and mentioning how Elpam didn't lend him a hand in defeating those monsters. Elpam casually mentions how those were only 3 monsters that he knew Debo could handle. Knowing they don't have much time, the 2 simultaneously mention they should get moving. But the rest of the sentence is out of sync. Debo mentions going for the boss monster, while Elpam mentions moving to kill every common monster. He has to remind Debo that he said all other parties must be aiming for the boss monster, which is why they shouldn't, because they are not aware of what extent the other parties might go to keep them in check. This is why it is better to be safe for them, provided that the ability and strengths are not only checked by the attack on boss monsters only. Elpam also mentions the weird vibe that he has been getting from this gate. Dolan is shown the exit gate by his party, which is good for them since they decide to lay out traces to lead back to it, once they are done with the boss. One of the members, Avant, starts laughing maniacally out of nowhere, making Dolan tell him to shut it, since it'll lure monsters towards them. However, soon after Avant, all the others start laughing too, making Dolan cover his mouth and run away from what is a laughing spore in the air. Dolan tries to rush to get out of there, but a monster that looks like someone crosses a joker and a mushroom is closely following Dolan, while exhaling laughing gas. Soon, Dolan has also stopped running as he laughs uncontrollably while standing in front of the Joker mutt. Shroom. Elpam and Debo are walking ahead while Debo has only one thought in mind: that Elpam didn't lift a finger during this entire time. A A signal catches their attention, which is impressive for Elpam, since he didn't expect that these adventurers will actually alert others once they find the boss monster. One of the party's leader, Iburu, starts explaining why he has called everyone. A girl interrupts that Dolan's party isn't here, which turns out to be the entire point of the conversation. The boss monster turns out to be a clown poison mushroom, and Dolan's party has been wiped out by it. This is worrying news for all the adventurers as they start discussing giving up and exiting the gate if the boss monster is really the clown poison mushroom. Meanwhile, Debo seems to be the only person unaware of the seriousness of facing this monster. He keeps calling Elpam to answer why this is all so serious, but Elpam seems to know how to ghost a person physically. Elpam is thinking about how this monster is the worst kind of monster to face at this level. The poison spore discharged by it prevents adventurers from effectively attacking from up close or surrounding it with sheer numbers. Ranged attack is the most practical option here, but the enemy boasts of hardy defense and unbelievable speed, making it impossible to take the monster down with mediocre strikes. Iburu tells everyone that the boss is lurking around the exit portal, making it impossible for them to escape, without drawing its attention. Debo intervenes, boasting about how one fire arrow can defeat the monster. Elpam tells him to shut up, making Debo seeth at him. Debo is then left shocked when Elpam tells everyone that a fire arrow won't even scratch the beast, and they need to come up with a strong plan. Elpam mentions that the gate is filled with monsters of strong defense, making it obvious what the boss of those creatures could be like. Iburu starts throwing shady remarks at Elpam, making others remind him that this is not the time to bicker amongst themselves. The person schooling Iburu is interrupted when Elpam announces 50,000 mesos. This is a price per person that every present adventurer has to pay, so the two of them can act as decoys while everyone else can escape. This will earn the two 1.5 million mesos, while all 30 people can safely exit the gate. Debo is currently pulling out his hair, not understanding what Elpam is up to, while Iburu is getting equally frustrated with Elpam's confidence. He tells Elpam that a decoy won't help in this case since the monster is too strong, and keeps on mocking him that this plan will get everyone killed if the two die right away as decoys. He then proceeds his rant about how, even if he has 2 circles, Debo doesn't have any circles at him at the moment. Calling Debo dumb makes him angry, but nobody seems to be giving him any attention at the moment. However, Elpam has a simple answer in return for all the ranting, that Iburu can give another plan if he has any. Elpam also corrects Iburu that his party consists of a 2-circle and a 1-circle adventurer. Debo, who was previously seething with anger, is as shocked as others when he sees the circle on his wrist and gets self-absorbed thinking how he must be too talented to already have awakened 1 circle. Elpam also reminds Iburu that his party also carries only 1 or 2 2-circle adventurers. Once Iburu shuts up, other people agree to pay Elpam, but they don't have the money on them right away. Elpam asks everyone to pay him once they get out of there, but they all have to agree unanimously to pay him for that. This shows the confidence that Elpam plans to escape alive with Debo, even after acting as a decoy. And if he dies, then everyone obviously gets to keep their money. The clown mushroom is currently munching on the bodies he previously captured when a fire arrow appears from afar and hits him. This catches its attention while masked Elpam and Debo are on alert to start running right when the clown mushroom spots them. Debo seems to be a little questionable about this plan. But when is he ever listened to? The mushroom spots them and rushes towards them, giving them their cue to rush. Debo realizes that the clown mushroom is indeed too fast since it is near their backs in the blink of an eye. The two keep their pace while the other adventurers hurry to activate the exit gate before the decoys are killed. Once the gate is activated, all the adventurers rush out of the gate, leaving the two of them to survive on their own. Elpam and Debo are still running when other common monsters appear in front of them. Debo, who has been called a pushover and insulted since he came here, finds a moment to let out his frustration while simultaneously proving his worth. He keeps his pace while slashing all those tiny mushroom monsters. Meanwhile, Elpam throws his fire arrows to slow down the boss monster. This seems to be making the boss monster angry, but Elpam keeps doing that along with his telekinesis to get it away from them. Using its mobility, the clown mushroom tries to dodge the attacks, reaching a little too close to Debo to not have him panic. However, the two of them timely reach the edge of the cliff and jump down into the stream of the river. Debo barely escapes the monster's hand, so as he goes down, he shows the clown monster his middle finger for his amusement. While falling, Elpam throws another blazing arrow towards the monster, causing a blast at the edge of the cliff as the two splash down into the fast stream and are swooshed away with it.